There's a huge measles outbreak in Texas.
We have a problem in this country of people not trusting vaccines. So this is the consequences of that problem, and I don't know how to solve it. People don't trust experts anymore.
Now that we have the anti-vaxxer in chief, RFK Jr. is even like worse because he was talking about, everybody who's on these medications, he wants to, send them to a camp so they can learn to cope without the medication.
So they can learn to concentrate.
A man tries to buy the landfill to recover his missing Bitcoin.
I feel for that guy because that's 8,000 Bitcoin is many millions of dollars.
Hello, how the tech are you? This is our weekly tech show on Eplex Media. We talk about science and tech news and whatever science and tech stuff we feel like talking about. I am historian Matt, and I am the co-host and co-producer on this show. My other co-host will introduce himself when he gets to his stories, but I'm just going to jump right into my stories. And I got two stories. One's kind of sad and one's kind of funny. So we'll start with we'll bring you down first, basically. So the first one is there's a huge measles outbreak in Texas. Cases of measles doubled in the last week. It's almost 2 weeks ago now, since we're recording this a little late. In the area of Texas that has low vaccination rates, Gaines County on the border with New Mexico is that location, and some counties around it. But Gaines County has the lowest vaccination rate of kindergartners in the state, with 82% vaccination rate. For comparison, you need about 95% rate to avoid the spread of measles. So that gives you herd immunity. So it's far below that level. The number of cases has reached 48, which doesn't sound that high, but it's, increasing pretty quickly. And that's one of the biggest outbreaks we've had in a while. And it has spread to 3 neighboring counties, which also have low vaccination rates, just not as low as Gaines County. Measles is one of the most contagious diseases in existence. It can be spread by air and linger in the air for up to 2 hours. 9 out of 10 unvaccinated people will get measles if exposed, and 20% of those who get measles will be hospitalized, with up to 3 in 1,000 dying. Measles can also remove immunity to other diseases called immune amnesia. So that's terrible. What do you think?
We have a problem in this country of people not trusting vaccines. So this is the consequences of that problem, and I don't know how to solve it.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. We've been pushing, telling people that vaccination is great. You should do it. It's one of the miracles of modern medical science. But somehow people have decided that, we know why. We know who started this whole thing, because it is the MMR
Measles,
vaccine,
mumps, rubella.
Which is the one that it's Wakefield, right? Andrew Wakefield.
You can't blame it all on Wakefield. He did.
That's true.
Exacerbate the problem quite a bit. I feel like a lot of it is just people don't trust experts anymore. And, when an expert is telling you hey, don't point a gun at your own foot and pull the trigger, and people are like, fuck you, I do what I want, and they point a gun at their own foot and pull the trigger, they get shot in the foot.
Yeah.
So, this is us shooting ourselves in the foot. This is entirely preventable. People will die, and it's fully preventable, and it's because people don't trust experts. So it's incredibly sad to hear that.
Yeah. And now that we have the anti-vaxxer in chief going into running the healthcare in this country, that's going to make things even better. Yay.
Yeah, he doesn't believe in vaccines. He clearly doesn't believe in not having worms in your brain. He doesn't believe in most medications, I think. Certainly not ADHD meds, which I'm on. I take ADHD meds in order to do my job. So RFK Jr. wants people like me to not be able to work. He doesn't think that. He thinks he wants me to be able to work without medicine, but I can't,
Yeah.
I can. I just do a really shitty job at it.
Well,
so what would take me an hour to do on medication takes me all day without medication.
Right.
So, and I've had to deal with those kind of people a lot in my life. In college, there were several people who basically convinced me like, oh, you shouldn't be on medication. You can just like manage using these techniques. And they would like send me information about techniques. And I tried it. I actually went off medication for 2 years in college. And my grades plummeted. I almost switched majors because I couldn't do the work in the classes that I wanted. And basically, I got to a point where I was pretty low, and then realized like, what the fuck am I doing? I was much better on the medication, so I started taking the medication back again. I got into like a really good computer science program, and I started doing a lot better. So these medications that RFK Jr. is against, he doesn't realize like they improve people's lives substantially. Like my life would be much worse without ADHD med, and he just doesn't believe them, and he doesn't believe in vaccines, and my life would probably be worse without vaccines too. I don't know, like you can't really know, but like I've had the flu before, and it's awful to have the flu. So like having a flu vaccine every year is important to me. And like having a COVID shot so I don't catch COVID. I've had COVID before and it wasn't that bad, and I attribute that to having the shot. Like a lot of people don't realize that the COVID shot is not necessarily meant to prevent you from getting COVID. It's meant to prevent you from getting hospitalized when you get COVID. And the hospitalization of people, like the hospitalization rate of people who did have the shot versus didn't have the shot, is substantially different. Like if you didn't have the shot, you were so much more likely to be hospitalized for COVID than if you did have the shot.
Yeah.
So, this is just another example of like people distrusting experts, distrusting medicine, distrusting people who spend their entire lives learning about this stuff and becoming experts and developing these things, these medicines. And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Well, it's like RFK Jr. is even like worse because he was talking about, everybody who's on these medications, he wants to, send them to a camp so they can learn to cope without the medication.
So they can learn to concentrate?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to go with a different way, but that joke works that way. Yeah.
But yeah, like as someone who has struggled with ADHD my entire life, all of those techniques, I can wholeheartedly say there are people in this world, and I am one of them, who can't do certain things I cannot do my job without ADHD. Like my code base is like hundreds of thousands of lines of code, and it overwhelms me when I'm off my medicine to try and like code things, to try and like debug. Like if there's a particularly annoying bug that's like a very like strange set of circumstances, it is much harder. It takes me days to find that kind of bug if I'm off my medicine, whereas it'll take me a few hours if I'm on my medicine. So like kind of substantial difference. You can't just learn techniques. That's not a difference of like concentration. That's a difference of like mental ability when I'm on and off those drugs.
And it's not like RFK was not limiting it to just the, ADHD drugs. He was also like including SSRIs for people who have anxiety, but also like at one point I heard him talk about including people who are on obesity drugs, which would include a lot more people, right? Especially now since we have some that are working better, but are quite expensive. But who knows? Like I am not taking any of those drugs at the moment, but I do take other ones that medication that I have to have for my high blood pressure and high cholesterol. I wouldn't be surprised if it eventually gets to that point as well, since he seems to be including more and more things in this that he wants to get people off of. But if I didn't have my blood pressure medicine, there's a good chance I would be dead. I came kind of close at one point, apparently.
And like that's another thing about what I'm talking about. People don't trust experts. For that reason, we don't have experts in charge of, and they're not making decisions based on expertise. They're making decisions based on misinformation and their own like wild notions of like how people should act and behave and what they can and can't do and what they do and don't need. You know, he's not a medical doctor. He shouldn't be telling people what medications they can and can't have. So.
Well, I think we covered this enough. I'll go on to my next topic, which is a little lighter. So basically, it's a man tries to buy the landfill to recover his missing bitcoins that are apparently in this landfill. So James Howells lost about 8,000 Bitcoin in a landfill about a decade ago. He has since lost a lawsuit with the city to allow him to search the landfill, and his last chance to recover the Bitcoins and buy the landfill from the city to continue his search, basically. So he wants to buy it at the moment as a last chance to do the search. But Newport City, which is the city that owns the landfill, will close the landfill soon. And what this may do, since they're closing the landfill, there's a chance that Howells will be able to buy the landfill before it closes so he can continue his search, or actually start his search. His plans are to clear out all the trash and use a magnet to find the hard drive he lost that contains the private key for the wallet containing all his lost Bitcoins, which is, it's not a bad idea, except I don't know. It doesn't seem like if it's an actual hard drive and not a some sort of solid state drive, I don't think this is gonna work. Like, it's been lost for too long. I don't think the keys are going to be there. Anyways, the city itself doesn't seem interested in the offer to buy the landfill and has other plans for the site. Specifically, the city plans to install a solar farm on at least a portion of the site to replace and also to replace diesel garbage trucks with electric ones. So this solar farm will basically power the garbage trucks in the area. What do you think about this one?
So first of all, I feel for that guy, because that's 8,000 Bitcoin is many millions of dollars, right?
Yes. That's I forgot to write down the actual amount, but it's actually it's probably just around $800 million worth of Bitcoin at the current prices. Yeah, which is why he really wants to get it.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, he's even offered to share some of the money that he would get from finding if he finds the drive and is able to recover his keys, share that with the city, but they're not interested. Of course, it's a long shot. Like, as I said, if it's an actual a regular hard drive, spinning disk hard drive, I don't know. I don't think it would survive all that.
Hard drives are pretty sturdy, they're in this metal casing that can take a lot of impact. And as long as the heads aren't, floating over the disk surfaces, then impact isn't really going to hurt the platters themselves. It might destroy the hard drive's mechanisms, but it won't hurt the platters. So I feel like if he was able to find this hard drive, he probably would be able to recover the data using forensic tools, not really just plug it in, because it probably won't work if you just plug it into a computer. But the proper forensic tools, you probably could recover it. But also he wants to use a magnet to find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
I'm
that might not be a great idea depending on how strong the magnet is.
Yeah.
That's what I was strong enough, too. It'll erase the hard drive.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, that if it's a spinning disk, not a solid state hard drive, which 10 years ago, that solid state wasn't as common as it is now. Mm-hmm. But I think just sitting there, it demagnetizes over time.
It does, but that just means that the hard drive's mechanisms themselves probably, the read heads probably wouldn't be able to read it. But with forensic tools, you absolutely could read it. It would take decades before you couldn't read it with the proper forensic tools.
It's been a decade, but
yeah, it would take more time than that.
More time, okay.
Yeah,
because I know at one point I
had
a hard drive crash. I looked into a service that would try to recover it, and it wasn't terribly expensive, but it was just more than what it was worth. That is the same reason I lost some Bitcoins. But at the time, the price of Bitcoin was so low that it wasn't worth it to send it to these people to recover it. Now it would have been, but back then it wasn't worth it. And of course, I don't have it anymore.
Yeah, I lost a quarter of a Bitcoin a while ago, 25% of a Bitcoin. Yeah. I mean, it isn't that much, but it's still $1,000. Yep. And I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah. It's around $25,000 right now.
Okay, so a quarter of that would be
No, that's how much a quarter would be. It's around $100,000 right now per Bitcoin.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Maybe I should try and find that. Maybe I do have that hard drive somewhere.
If you still have it, from the prices I've seen, like it might be worth it. Like you would have a decent payday.
Yeah,
If you can recover it.
Like, that's like a pretty good used car.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel for the guy. That really sucks. I hope he can find it. I hope they let him buy the landfill and he can find it, because that's so much money.
Yeah. And his idea was like also he was going to clear out. Like I don't 100% understand what he was doing, but he was actually like he was going to remove all the trash like itself in the process of trying to find this hard drive. And he said in the end it could be reused as a landfill. They could go back into using as a landfill, or use it more as a park or something. I think he wanted to do a park as an alternative, but it's not exactly suitable location. And if you have a landfill, it's not really a suitable location, even if it's fully covered. It's not suitable as a park. But if he clears all the trash out, maybe.
Depending on how you cover the landfill, it has to have like proper ventilation so explosive gases don't like build up in it, and it has to have proper drainage. But like to catch all the trash juice, the delicious trash juice.
Yeah.
So you can bottle it up and sell it as Red Bull. I'm just kidding. I love Red Bull. But yeah, you could turn it into a park.
Yeah.
If you did it right.
I know in Silicon Valley, but I guess it was Sunnyvale. Their landfills, for some reason, were next to the bay, which didn't seem like a good idea. But a couple of the old ones there, I guess they had covered over, and they had like walking trails over it, right? It was just grass over it's just like little hills, but you knew it was right next to where the dump is. You knew what it was.
Trash park. Yeah. Was that the one in Milpitas?
There was another one in Milpitas, but the one I was thinking of is specifically in Sunnyvale.
Because I remember like Milpitas, you drive along the freeway through Milpitas and you could smell the dump. And people nicknamed it Smellpitas. Thank you for tuning in to How the Tech Are You? We do this show weekly and put it out in segments on YouTube. If you'd like to check out our other shows, you can see them at echoplexmedia.com. And if you'd like to support us, you can also support us at echoplexmedia.com, or you can go to our store, eplex.store, or support us on Patreon at patreon.com/echoplex. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and there should be another video somewhere here for you to click on. Have a great tech and week.